Hello and welcome to How to Citizen. I'm Meghnad and today we are dealing with Chapter 3. Do we need a parliament? I mean, really, do we? What's the point of it even? To answer this all-important question, we have Prashasthi Singh, who is one of my favorite people, I must say, one of my favorite comedians, and she's from one of my favorite places on the planet, the second most favorite. We talk about the infamous Schrodinger's door in the Parliament complex. And then Nagpur and Amethi go to war. Spoiler alert, Prashasthi wins because she has a Bahubali representative. After that, some stuff about how our democracy is theoretical and how MPs don't really have a free will, so why are they even there? Why are we even here? Basically, a giant existential crisis happens in this episode. So watch out for that. Let's get schooling and let's get schooled. Hi Prashasthi Singh.
Hi guys. Hi Shreyas. Hi Meghnad. Hi people.
Prashasthi Singh, are you the kind of person who always people go by Prashasthi Singh and not Prashasthi?
I think my friends call me Prashasthi, but since I've become mildly popular, people, I don't know why they call me Prashasthi Singh because it's not that you find many Prashasthis in general.
I like Prashasthi Singh.
Yeah, it's iconic. Whenever the last name goes with the first, it's just iconic.
I can be a candidate. It's a politically correct
So
name.
Prashasthi, please introduce yourself first.
Okay. Guys, people who don't know me.
Yeah, of course.
I'm Prashasthi and I've been living in Mumbai for 4 years, but I grew up in UP, in Amethi. Okay, for 15 years I was living there. My native family still lives there. And so I studied in Delhi. My engineering was in Delhi. I studied in Lucknow. I went to IIM Lucknow for my MBA. And I worked in Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad, and now Mumbai. So yeah, I'm a well-traveled person. But the village doesn't just go away.
And now you're in Bombay and you are a comedian.
Yeah. So basically I've so now
dramatic turn your life took, no?
Correct. I did not. I'm not trying to be funny, but I just could not see it coming. Just could not.
Do you think there's going to be one more change like that in your life 5 years from now where you're going to be sitting being like, I have no idea how this happened?
Yeah, I'm like, yes, this is how life is supposed to be, you know. Make short-term plans and don't get carried away. Yo, मैं life के बारे में सोचा था ऐसा.
Right.
No.
It's not right.
होने नहीं वाला. So, Prashasthi, just tell us about your school life a little bit. How was it?
Okay. So, I was studying in the only English medium school in Amethi. Okay?
Right.
Actually, I'll give you some context. As you guys would know, it used to be Rajiv Gandhi's constituency, and during when he was prime minister, people benefited a lot. Okay, he genuinely was the Bahubali.
Yeah.
So he built these PSU campuses, and then he got in the industry in that small village. And today you have 2-3, small PSU campuses in that village. Okay, so it's a very funny place because there is village,
right,
and then there will be a campus inside which you're like, wow, there's concrete, there is electricity, there is water. There's a school, and then you step out, it's village again. Okay, so HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, one of the campuses in Amethi. Okay, and I grew up in that campus. Okay, while my grandfather's family was living outside the campus, so I had the best of the worst of both worlds. And it was the only English medium school where we never spoke English because that kind of school where you have to pay fine for speaking Hindi. But teachers also like, fuck, kaun hi bolega idhar. Jao next time.
It was a CBSE school?
CBSE school. Yeah.
Dude, I just realized. So both of us are from Nagpur, right?
Oh, okay.
We are from the other stronghold. She's from one stronghold. We are from the other stronghold.
Hey guys, should we form a coalition here? Right here, right now.
But, so did you enjoy your school?
I think I did I think when I was a kid, I genuinely enjoyed the school. Like I was also a class topper, guys. Okay, always.
Wow.
So I think till class 6, 7, I was genuinely enjoying school. I think teenage was painful,
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm sure boys would also feel, but as a girl, I think you start feeling suffocated.
Right.
Yeah.
By the time you're like in 9th and 10th, you're like, oh my god. And then you have TV that shows you hip hip hooray is also happening. Like, oh, that is also alive. What are we doing here? So I was very happy as a kid, dude. I was like, oh my god, we're living in, and I had no exposure, right?
Right.
The city I had seen, the only city I'd seen was Lucknow.
Right.
And we'd go to Lucknow once in 2 months for my dental treatment, which is still not proper. but we would go there, and I was like, yeah, this is that New York, you know?
Yeah.
And then we would buy G.I. Joes and Barbies and come back. And I was happy with that life,
Right.
you know, कि अपना campus है अच्छा है, park है, lake है, सब इसके अंदर है. But I think, yeah, by the time I was in class like 8th, 9th, 10th, I was like, oh shit. People watch movies in cinemas the same day it releases. We get it after 1 year. What? Like what? What? You realize the world is different.
Yeah.
This is you're living in a well.
Right.
That sounds amazing. But do you remember your social studies teacher in 8th standard?
Oh yeah, very clearly.
Was he or she a good teacher?
So I'll tell you what. In my case, at least, I don't know how it was for you guys. We had 4 teachers for social studies. Like one civics teacher, one geography teacher.
yes. I'm all for that. I'm all for different teachers teaching.
History, geography, civics, economics. Economics came in 9th or 10th.
9th or 10th, yeah.
So we had 4 different teachers.
Oh, dude, that's luxury,
None
right
of them
there.
were good.
Yeah, thanks.
That is like, yeah.
But they tried.
Huh?
They tried.
They did. I should say कि उनको ऐसे ही उनको बताया गया था कि पढ़ाते ऐसे ही हैं, you know. तो उन्होंने सबने and everyone, I was like, सब teach and all the teachers are teaching the same way, right? You're like, this is the normal way of teaching.
Yeah.
And 1 or 2 teachers would be exceptional. You're like, oh my god,
Right.
you know, this is like
Right.
what, you know.
They would make other teachers look like shit.
Yeah, but you were like, ये तो कभी-कभी ही भगवान का अवतार दुनिया में आता है. Otherwise, normal is this.
Yeah.
So yeah, my social studies, we had 4 teachers. I remember my civics teacher.
Yeah,
clearly.
civics teacher. Huh.
Yeah, so
Civics teacher was good, you are saying. No, bad.
was
horrible.
was average. Like she
Average.
was like, she would come to class, she
Right.
would be like, this, let's open this chapter. Then
Right.
she would make us paragraph by paragraph.
Yeah.
People will read.
Right.
If she's in a good mood or she thinks कि अच्छा, oh ये वाला concept मुझे थोड़ा सा बोलना चाहिए.
Right.
So she will say a few things.
Right.
But that was it.
That was it.
And I think I think social studies in general was very rote. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think your science teacher would or science or maths, okay, you would still find exceptional teachers once in a while who would urge you to think, to solve problems because the nature
Right.
of subject is such. But I remember my social science teachers, social studies teachers, even if they were good at heart, I think their purpose was to make people mug as much as to tell them कि ये important है, ये paragraph से पढ़ लेना. You know, that was the most helpful teacher.
So it was 4 teachers just teaching you how to memorize. in
Yeah,
different
and to
chapters.
prioritize कि कैसा रटना है. And I used to kill at that, by the way, guys.
Do you still remember anything? Like, is there like a question that you worked so hard for when you're in 8 that it's still somewhere sedimented in your mind?
Rote learning works like that. That's why we are fighting against it, you know, for the next generation.
Next generation.
No,
yes.
because the thing is, the chapter we are going to deal with
Yeah.
today is a maze, and you will relate to it because stronghold persons, you know, like it's our chapter, guys. So, the thing is that we are going to do something.
Okay.
You're going to tell us a place where you and your friends used to chill.
Okay.
Just describe it to us.
Okay. Okay, this is the weird. Now I'm thinking about this for the first time, and I'm
Right.
realizing
Right.
the place used to be in the middle of the school ground. There used to be a stage, okay, which used to
Right.
convert into the annual function stage when annual function used to
Right,
happen.
right.
The stage was and there was ground, so people typically interval or end of school time was the time when we would chill.
Yeah.
And we used to go to the stage to chill because we were like, yeah, हम cool हैं. हम stage के ऊपर बैठ के chill करेंगे. जो थोड़े uncool लोग हैं वो नीचे बैठे.
Was there ever an audience looking at you just chill?
So I remember the typical scene in the recess would be that the entire ground. So it's like there was school compound in the middle of it. There was a huge ground, and then the stage, like whatever, sort of in the middle of it. And people used to take the tiffin boxes and sit in the ground,
Right.
गोले गोले बना के,
Yeah,
circle
गोले
बना
गोले
के.
बना के.
And हम क्योंकि हम cool chick civics. तो हम स्टेज के ऊपर जाके बैठते थे. So I remember it used to be so hot. But we would sit on the gola bana ke and then do chit chat and discussions.
Our school stage was just a cement block.
Yeah.
That was a giant cement block.
Grey,
right?
white cement
Right,
block.
right,
Yes.
right.
No green. Like
Yeah.
they would just when annual function would happen, tent लगा के उसको ठीक कर देते थे.
Every now and then a football playing kid would come and bump into it and like break something. Yeah, that was essentially it.
That was the spot. He कभी थोड़ा cool feel कर रहे थे सीढ़ी पे बैठ गए. You know, not on this stage. But
So imagine that three of us are sitting there right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Take care. Oh, look at her face. She's like, oh my god, imagination. But yeah, we are sitting there and we are preparing for a Viva tomorrow, which is about this chapter, which is called "Why Do We Need a Parliament?"
right, apt.
The chapter title is just "Why do we need a parliament?"
It's a big question.
Is it a rhetorical question? That's what I want to ask. But yeah, so the chapter is amazing, and to the listeners who are listening to this, we are doing something amazing to have the perfect immersive experience. Go to ivmpodcast.com/howtocitizen, where there is a Google Drive link which has all the chapters from the 8th grade civics book. We have uploaded them there. Just take a look at them and basically read with us, because not really read it, but if you want the perfect immersive experience with us, so just go there and see the chapter, and you will get more context of what the hell we are talking about, right? So to begin with, let's start and read the introduction, right?
Paragraph by paragraph.
Paragraph by paragraph. We in India pride ourselves on being a democracy. Yeah, like a lot of Here we will try and understand the relation between the ideas of participation in decision making and need for all democratic governments to have consent of their citizens. This always makes me laugh. Do you think you have consent as a citizen to control your government?
Or do you think whatever the parliament is doing, do they have your consent to do whatever they are doing?
I think sometimes I feel that, I want to give them the benefit of doubt, and I really feel that when they were making constitution, they genuinely probably thought that all of this is going to, this is how it will be, the utopia that we are creating,
Right.
Government will be, bunch of people, the people like, consent, hamara hai. So I want to believe that their intent is in the right place.
Right place.
Okay, yeah.
Hearts were in the right place. It is these elements that together make us a democracy. And this is best expressed in the institution of parliament.
Yeah.
So in this chapter, we will try to see how the parliament enables citizens of India to participate in decision making and control the government. Amaze. Thus making it most important symbol of the Indian democracy and a key feature of the constitution. Yeah.
You know what I really like here? I like how it says that the citizens of India to participate in the decision making. But before that, they have added the parliament enables. So is there really control if you need enabling by an institution?
Well, parliament enables citizens, right? So if you look at the picture below that, which is it's basically the parliament building, and instead of pillars,
there are
people
who are like, oh my god, what the fuck? ये मेरे हाथ पे क्या डाल दिया तुम लोगों ने? This is not on my hands.
It is a very representative picture of basically how citizens are being boarded or crushed.
But the picture is so apt. Like,
it is very apt.
If you want to look, if you want to read it as the way constitution makers would read it, it would be like, wow, people are upholding the
oh dude, that is like
parliament, the tenets of democracy. But when you look at it, when we look at it, we're like, oh, this is so true. This is on our shoulders. We don't know what to do with it.
You can't even run, because if one person runs, it all falls down.
Yeah. So, that's the thing. So, this whole chapter is about parliament, and to the listeners who don't know, so I've worked in the parliament for around 7 years, right, with multiple MPs, yeah. So yeah, that's why I thought it would be a fun chapter to do as well, because I have so many stories. But yeah, painful ones and also fun ones. But, so the parliament, there's this, I'll tell you something. So, in the parliament, if you look at the building, which is this building, without the people holding it up, just pillars.
That's
right?
disappointing. I wish there were people.
So there are 3 gates in Parliament, right? There is gate number 1, there's gate number 2 and gate number 3. मतलब जो allowed है जाने के लिए. तो gate number 1 is the main gate, जिसके बाहर गांधी है, right? He's closed his eyes and not looking at things which is happening. So main gate के बाहर एक carpet है जो अंदर लोगों को जाने के लिए, and then it splits into 2. Which is red and green, right? Okay. Red is for Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha is green. Basically, they are telling MPs कि तुमको घंटा पता है, तुम यहाँ पे जाएगा या तुम यहाँ पे जाएगा. Not. They're telling the direction.
The carpet split.
Yeah, the carpet
I'm just visualizing
splits,
it. Yeah.
Then there is gate number 3, right? Which is the media gate. So right outside gate number 3, there is a giant media tent, right? Like with whatever, and every time someone comes out, the media rushes with their mics and saying, बताइए सूर्य नमस्कार क्यों करते हो आप types, like whatever question. This is a real thing because there was a discussion going on GST and one more finance bill. And I was outside, chilling outside, right outside the gate. And then some dude came and MP आ रहा था, उसको पूछा, सर योगी आदित्यनाथ जी ने बोला है सूर्य नमस्कार इम्पोर्टेंट है, आपकी क्या राय है? एंड द मिनिस्टर एक्चुअली वाज लाइक बट जीएसटी. आफ्टर पार्टी वाज लाइक हाँ तो मैं रोज सुबह सूर्य नमस्कार करता हूँ.
और I also think probably they also are like कि क्या I don't know whom to blame.
Also,
I think we blame the sun.
Also, to be fair, like when they go inside, their cell phones are blocked, right? Because कुछ पता नहीं चलता बाहर क्या चालू है, जीवन मतलब country जिंदा भी है क्या पता.
Internet doesn't work in the parliament.
No. You have to come outside to get cell phone reception and Wi-Fi है,
right.
But वो house के अंदर नहीं मिलता है.
Wow.
So you get cut off the moment you enter. But then there is the very interesting gate number 2. Which I call the Schrodinger's gate, right? Which is basically it's open or not open, you don't know. वहाँ से सब anonymous MPs बाहर आते हैं. So we have 545 MPs in Lok Sabha, 250 in Rajya Sabha. That's a lot of people. But if you name a few MPs, can you name a few random MPs? Just it will prove my point.
Rahul Gandhi.
Yeah.
There's Rahul Gandhi.
Yeah. We are not able to name MPs over here.
Rajiv Malhotra.
What?
That sounded like an MP-ish name.
The entire cabinet is MPs. You can name any minister and get away with this.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sachin Pilot.
Sachin Pilot is well, okay, not an MP, but okay.
Can we get on? This is really stressing me out. I'm sweating
Sachin
in this
Tendulkar
air
is Rajya
condition.
Sabha MP.
Yes.
वो retire हो गया.
He's not fuck. Guys, edit this out. I want to sound intelligent, guys.
No, but ठीक है. Sachin Tendulkar was a Rajya Sabha.
Yeah.
Kiran Kher is an MP.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
correct.
Kiran-
I have
Kiran
seen
Kher.
her.
Hema Malini.
She's Rajya
Famous
Sabha or Lok Sabha?
Rajya Sabha.
Jaya Bachchan.
Hema Malini is Lok Sabha.
Okay.
Isn't she?
But in my head, I think my problem is that I assume all the beautiful and movie people are in the Rajya Sabha. All the glamorous people are in the Rajya Sabha. And the real thing, the Lok Sabha is like, हाँ तुम लोग यहाँ पे
काम करो.
Rajya Sabha में तुम लोग कर लो अपना, hero बन लो. Lok Sabha में यहाँ पे real grunge will happen. You guys stay away from this.
So Kiran Kher is a Lok Sabha MP.
हाँ correct. I've seen her.
Yeah. So अच्छा ठीक है. I get it, guys. But the point being that a few names, these are popular names, but there are a lot of names you don't know.
Correct.
Like,
Very evidently on this table.
Yeah. And so they, like the people you don't see much, they tend to come out of gate number 2. Because बहुत जल्दी से आते हैं, गाड़ी में बैठ के भाग जाते हैं, because they don't want the media to have their glare on them or whatever. So a lot of MPs I have worked with have always come out from gate number 2, which is a little disappointing, but which also means that I got the chance to make fun of the other 2 people, the other 2 kind of MPs, so which is working out well for me, I guess. So,
Clearly, you're sitting here today.
Yeah.
Civics book.
No, but going to the chapter, we go back to one more rhetorical question. Why should people decide? Why should people decide? Tell me.
Well, I think the opening line of this whole thing is we pride ourselves in being a democracy. Okay, and the next question is why should people decide? मतलब causality देख लो ना तुम पहले. Ask the question पहले and then say yeah pride. अब pride की बात establish हो चुकी है.
And for some reason, when I read it, I don't know, it's because of just the country we live in. When I see why should people decide, it just comes off as angry. Why should people decide? It's that. Sorry for shouting.
Yeah, you have sort of.
My ears exploded, Shreyas.
Yeah.
That's the sound of democracy ringing, my friend.
So in the first page itself, they're just talking about how the British did not give shit.
Yeah.
They did not give a shit, and they were like, the nationalists began to openly criticize the British government and make demands, right? So basically, they said that under colonial rule, the people had lived in fear of the British government and did not agree with many of the decisions they took. No shit. It was called a colonial government for a reason, right? Like, no, but 8th graders ka hai, so it's fine.
Right.
You know, and we are also 8th graders. We're chilling on
Correct.
it.
To be honest, actually, when I look back, this used to work on me. In the sense of like, yeah, democracy. We are, world.
Feel free.
No, but it's interesting that you brought this up because there was this constant attempt to make us into nationalists, as they put it. That's a word yahan pe. The current definition of nationalist can be different, but it's always this feeling of patriotism aana chahiye logo mein types. So in your assembly, did you have like
Jan Gan Man?
No, wo to
Ho gayi.
ho gayi. But did you have like everyday assembly?
Yeah.
Everyday assembly, yeah.
So basically, in my Amethi school, where I was till class 10, we used to have everyday assembly. Every day, the prayer used to change, and Jan Gan Man used to be the constant.
Right.
And in the middle of it, there used to be some sort of small extracurricular thing. Somebody's
Yeah.
thought of the day,
Yeah.
news items.
Did you ever have a thought of the day? Do you remember what yours was?
God helps those who help themselves.
That's a nice one.
And I got chance to do it multiple times, but I remember this as my first, the time I introduced
Cleanliness is next to godliness.
Godliness, yeah.
We had a thought of the day and a fact of the day in school.
Oh yeah, we did too. We had a fact of the day also. And there was a point when there was this amazing person who used to give fact of the day, and I don't know where he got it from, but the whole school went ooh. It was like yes, if वहाँ mic होता तो वो drop कर देता. It was like fact of the day, fact. But yeah, I was like, यार. मेरे को तो कुछ देने नहीं देते.
It's so funny. I never realized that this format is constant across
the country.
Yeah.
I know, right?
How did
How
they
did they
manage?
decide?
There was no internet, dude.
Yeah.
CBSE.
Mm.
Do they have like assembly instructions? We have to find out.
Yeah, let's find
like
out.
should assemblies have like a format?
How is this so uniform?
You had different...
and they're not clearly genius people running schools. So
Yeah.
it's clearly...
but there's organization, at least. There's coordination.
That's very interesting. We should find out if
Yes.
there is an assembly instruction manual.
Yeah.
That should be.
I remember on Wednesday they had the longest prayer prayer always. They had the Sanskrit prayer on Wednesday.
They also had the pledge. जो ऐसे
Oh, yeah.
आधा बाएं मुड़ के
और-
ऐसे
और-
करना पड़ता था.
All girls, all my brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
India is my country. All Indians are my brothers and sisters.
yeah.
I love my country.
I had to say that often, and I had to memorize it every time before because I could never remember
मुझे
it.
तो पूरा याद है. I तो all head girl properties.
Same head boy.
Yeah, I never became one though.
Oh, then I take
Just
it back.
properties were displayed, guys.
Okay,
man.
I have a question. On the first page, there's an image of an elector reading instructions for using the EVM, and it's just an old guy sitting and looking at a poster which has instructions for the EVM. And the question is, what do you think the artist is trying to convey through the image of Parliament?
On the previous.
Wait, sorry, that's not the question. The question is, what is the artist trying to convey with this image of an old man looking at EVM?
He's
I feel it's a subversive image that's...
जिसकी इवन आपको मोतिया बिंद भी है तभी आप पढ़ सकते हो. The way but why would they use this man otherwise? This is मोतिया बिंद ad wala boy. Man, uncle, sorry.
Clearly.
This is...
no, but I think he's just I don't know, he's staring at the buttons waiting for the time when he will get to press this.
Just waiting for inspiration to come.
I can
Nothing feels right.
I think the place they might be coming from would be ki acha, you know what, we will show inclusiveness of the electoral process ki garib bhi dikhe and you know budha bhi dikhe, somebody ho ki anyone can vote, which might have been the thought process, but as we know the whole problem with civics and the parliament in general is what is thought and what is executed.
It's very different.
It's very different.
Did you vote till now?
I have voted, yeah.
You have voted. How was your experience?
It was very
Blah.
Underwhelming.
Yeah. Have you voted, Shreyas?
I haven't voted.
You haven't voted yet?
Yeah.
Did you just turn 18?
No. But I was never in the
Oh, you're not in the country. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But it is underwhelming, right? I mean,
and actually, what people on a more serious note, right? The politics that we discuss on the internet today amongst ourselves is very macro, right?
Yeah.
We think about maybe big politicians, big issues, country mein kya ho raha hai. But when you're going to vote, it's very micro, right? Amethi is an exception, okay? But even if you're voting in Lucknow, right? You won't be able to recall Lucknow se MP kaun hai.
Yeah.
Right? What is that MP doing? What are the promises he's making? Now that politics, one, it's not in the media. Second is even people, like unless you are a very aware citizen who and they're typically the people who are marginalized, who actually care what will this person do for my bijli and pani.
Right.
Nobody really knows ki exactly ye karne kya wale hai, right? So for people like us, I realize for upper middle class, even in small towns, the election process is very underwhelming.
Right.
People who genuinely care and who are affected are people who are poor or who are lower middle class, who are like, this particular MP, this is how he will change my life.
Right.
So for them, it probably is a big day. Ki today I am changing my vote.
Yeah.
But hamara kya? I'm a liberal, so this Yogi ji.
It's like a battle of ideas almost. Like who should we go for?
And what the thing is, and it's very sad because also, I think you guys could give me some view on how it is in Nagpur or a Maharashtra tier 1 city.
Yeah.
But in UP, what is happening is, one, the politics is already bad in the sense that it's still stuck in caste. Okay, it's still stuck in non-development issues. Plus, people who are getting educated, people like me, okay, are just moving out.
Yeah.
Right? There is no industry there to hold on to people who would be there, who would actually think about development, who would think about what are the issues and then vote.
Right.
So all the people who sort of are developing or are evolving are just moving out of the state, and people who remain are people who are stuck with the same issues, who are gullible, okay, whose issues are proper कि बिजली पानी ये वो, but उनको बेवकूफ बनाना बहुत आसान है कि हम you are my caste, I'll take care of my caste, I'll take care of this community here.
Absolutely.
And they're like, who else to believe?
Right.
So that's what till the time it's a very fundamental issue. Even if I go and vote, okay, I am voting on very superficial issues. कि अच्छा मैंने ये सुना है, मेरी मम्मी ने ये बोला है, I'm not living and experiencing that every day, and hence and I don't have a solution for that till the time I would want to go and live there. But how do I live there if there is no job that can, no opportunity over there?
For instance, you can't do a stand-up comedy show in like Amethi.
I can do it as a special, as an event. I can't sustain my livelihood with that.
Have you ever done stand-up in Amethi?
Not in Amethi. In Lucknow, I did a show in Lucknow because it was a big auditorium show. So Lucknow is now evolved enough to the people who can pay. Once in 6 months is a big show. And it was not me individually. I went with Biswa. So again, Biswa filled an auditorium. So it was a big show, but like, that audience is typically people like the IAS, their kids who are visiting Lucknow, people studying in IIM Lucknow or a medical college in Lucknow. People who again all are already well-to-do and are just waiting for entertainment to happen in the city. So it's sad that way. I look at how Hyderabad has changed, okay, how Bangalore has changed, how Ahmedabad is changing, right? And I'm like, I don't know how this will happen, in our part of the country.
That's true. And that is where the question of people and their representatives come in,
Yeah.
right? Your representative being one of the most talked about person in the country.
Yes.
Yeah. Who is Rahul Gandhi.
Yes.
Yes. Fun times. But, so that's the thing. I mean, Can you tell us a little bit about Amethi and how he has been as a representative and how his family has been really as
Okay.
representatives?
Okay, and I love to talk about
Yeah,
this.
yeah, please.
So you have to know that
So so for the listeners, she is a people and she's talking about her representative. So this is about this section. Okay, go on.
So as I told you, right, that Rajiv Gandhi, while he was alive and he was the prime minister, people benefited a lot. Okay, and then they live with that memory in the sense that they know, उनको चस्का लग गया है कि अगर हम prime minister की constituency होंगे तो यहाँ पे actually फायदा होने वाला है.
But benefited in what way? They got
Industry
projects?
came in,
Industry
right?
came
So
in.
like if you compare an Amethi with say a neighboring Barabanki,
Yeah.
you don't even know Barabanki, right? They were all at par, right? Small towns, practically villages, right? This guy put Amethi, and for him, I'm guessing Sanjay Gandhi was the first one who actually, came to Amethi, right? For them, when they picked up these places, my understanding is it was not कि यहाँ से कुछ, special लगाव है. It was just like one of these places where people will just vote for a big candidate, right?
Yeah.
But then it became a legacy constituency, right? Then we had our prime minister from there, and then we saw because prime ministers have to show that they're doing work.
Yeah.
So I'm not even saying I don't know, I was not even there then, but Rajiv Gandhi was a great guy, not great guy, but definitely when it was the prime minister's constituency, it benefited in the sense industry came in. Okay, there's HAL, there's Indogal, there are 2-3 other ACC factory. The factories came in. At that time, factories were the equivalent of MNC culture, right?
Right.
Factories came in. When factories came in, the poor people who were just doing agriculture got employment in building, in building those factories. Even if it's a mason's work, if it's a brick contractor's work, they got employment. Then people from other parts of this country came to live in those factories, right? So it became a fairly cosmopolitan culture inside those campuses, but people outside also benefited.
One of which you grew up in.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's like this. I grew up inside the campus because my father chose to take a posting in Amethi because my grandfather was there, and my grandfather's joint family used to live outside Amethi. In the proper Amethi, and I could see that my cousins they were living a very different life, but because they used to come to my school, right, it was better than going to a Hindi medium school where it was absolutely no resources, nothing happening, and then they were interacting with you can't call it a cosmopolitan culture in today's construct, but definitely a better, a more evolved culture.
I get it. Right. So now people are basically, you're saying,
they're not living. So that happened then, and the economy there has over the years benefited from that change. Okay, so there was a gap in the middle when there was no Gandhi candidate from our, right? Rahul Gandhi was young, Rajiv Gandhi was dead. So then there was a gap and people saw we are out, we're not on the map anymore, our existence is not there. So when Rahul Gandhi came into picture again, first Sonia Gandhi came into picture again, and then she went to Raebareli. When Rahul Gandhi finally came into the picture again, people were like, oh, this is our time. That's why my Bahubali joke is not a joke. Like, there was a Amrendra Bahubali and we got our Mahendra Bahubali after so many years.
So this is the context. Drop the mic. Drop the mic right now.
Is this a journey of a joke at this point?
No, but I'm very attached to that one. I'm like,
absolutely.
I've seen that. I've seen that happen.
So guys, we have to take a break here. But after we come back, we will talk more about how Parliament works and what you know about it.
Very excited.
Okay.
Welcome back to How to Citizen. We are here with Prashasthi Singh. And let's get started again.
She was just talking about her Mahendra Bahubali, her own Mahendra Bahubali. Are you satisfied with your current Bahubali?
I think, of course, there were a lot of hopes. Okay, he's not become the prime minister yet. Why has he not become the prime minister? He was a blue, or he is. Okay, so the thing is, the hopes. Like,
अभी फिर से आ गए.
And it will be a very interesting election, to be honest, this time, because people have been holding on to this one thing, right, that he'll become the prime minister and put us back on the map. And I won't be surprised if again after Smriti Irani's proper efforts and after seeing the people still vote for him because that's the only thing we have. Even if she becomes our candidate and goes to the parliament she will not be the prime minister. We, there's one, the competition is between getting a prime minister and getting a candidate. So it's like in their heads, of course she came closer to the margin that used to be there say 10 years back. She actually bridged it a lot in the last election. But this one, I still won't be surprised if people still vote for him because he is. There is an emotion.
It's such a adorable and heartbreaking story at the same time, right? Amethi ka, where people are such holding on to this weird hope कि हमको prime minister मिल सकता है.
And it's also very sad because
that is the only way to get development for them, basically.
That's the story. I mean, that is where we all fail. That there's so many MPs, so many constituencies in UP. Nobody's talking about what is happening there. Nobody. Again, the political discussion is so macro. कि योगी जी क्या कर रहे हैं, मोदी जी क्या कर रहे हैं. Nobody's talking about कि अरे इस particular की बाराबंकी में, रायबरेली में, रायबरेली still सोनिया गांधी. But I'm thinking all these small districts, what are the MPs delivering to their promises?
Right.
Because
absolutely.
Nobody cares about that.
So, but that's also about how the media is now also has a very national perspective. Also, plus, actually, we are privileged to live in a very urban sort of setting, and we like to think about these peripheral issues more than micro issues. I think,
Okay.
And that is. Like yesterday, Shreyas and me and a friend were having a conversation about Nagpur, right? And how it has suddenly developed because road transport minister is from our constituency, Nitin Gadkari, right? And he has done so much work in the last 4 years. 5 साल पहले किसी को पता भी नहीं था नागपुर कहाँ पे है. अभी 4 साल बाद everybody knows where Nagpur is, and it has gotten so many projects. And exactly like yours, right? We got a minister, we didn't get a prime minister, but still, I mean, I completely understand where you're coming from, right? So we have to talk about the
Wait,
next
before that,
part.
can I talk about one thing? What I really find fascinating about the Bahubali joke is that I feel political narratives are so complicated and nuanced, and there are just so many factors, but a joke is such a good way to put it in a way that is digestible to people.
Yeah.
So, just observation. Okay, let's move on. No question.
If we were actually sitting on that place that you have, इसको मार खाना. क्या फालतू की observation देता है, कल वाइवा है.
No one deserve to be on the stage. Get off.
It's very flattering, guys. It's okay. I'm not complaining.
देख, at least प्रशस्ति तो अपने representative के बारे में बात कर रही है. तू तो क्या joke है क्या वो?
Listen, bro, she's the topper. The way I'm gonna pass the test is not by studying. उसके बाजू में बैठ के.
Okay. Yeah, I seem to be the only one who cares about the textbook. So, we will talk about the role of our parliament, right? It says the parliament in our system has immense powers because it is the representative of the people. Elections to the parliament are held in a similar manner as they are for state legislatures, right? So Lok Sabha is elected every 5 years, etc. So they're giving details about how the parliament functions. Can you just tell us in short, Shreyas and Prashasthi, how it works? If you can. Like, you said you've read the chapter.
Yeah. So, people we elect people. Okay, there has to be majority. Okay, for somebody to come into power. Right. Okay, we've seen before this last election, it's seen how majority used to be a major issue, and how their fundamentals used to be compromised because they would form a coalition and they would get together to get that 51% is what they need, right? So the majority is needed. The other set of people, the largest party becomes the opposition.
Yeah.
Okay. And what I find fascinating about this is that this is the same, right? The shit that we read in our schools.
Yeah.
And this is, I'm thinking, in so many years, why don't they include one paragraph on why is it so inefficient? There is a problem, guys. These are the loopholes. And when you grow up, kids, when you grow up, watch out for these loopholes because of course on paper वो क्या कितना सही है, pie chart बना दिया. ये ऐसे लोग जीत जाते हैं, ऐसे लोग ये हो जाते हैं. फिर जिनके पास power आता है वो minister बनाते हैं. Then there is a cabinet. And I remember when I was learning this in class 8th, I used to be like, it was just so important to memorize कि इसका definition क्या है, उसका definition
Right.
cabinet minister, union minister. You were not picturizing it. You were not visualizing how this is going to change
Right.
your life or your people's life. And वो क्या 20 साल के बाद now I'm trying to absorb all of this again.
Absolutely. So didn't it blow your mind a little bit when you read this chapter again?
It did. I mean, all of this was there, okay,
Yeah.
but there was no nuance.
There was no
Still-
context.
Correct.
There was no relatability, right? That's important.
Correct.
Because as kids, you want to pass an exam. That is in your head. कि तुम fundamental rights लिखो पर उसका spelling भी सही होना चाहिए, right? Otherwise marks नहीं मिलेगा
Right.
तेरे को.
Right.
कि so busy रहते हैं, हाँ ये 5 अगर राइट्स हैं तो मैं एक भूल ना जाऊं. Instead of thinking कि यार इस राइट का मीनिंग क्या है.
Exactly. And then you remember it also, right? Because, like, for instance, I was talking to a friend who is a comedian like you. And basically, he was really concerned about freedom of speech and the rights. Because, again, relatability, right? Like, now that friend cares about freedom of speech,
Yeah.
right? And because job mein affect hoga, ye wo hoga. So exactly like that, where you get married and then suddenly you're like, ये marriage के laws क्या होते हैं? Consent age और consent क्या होता है? You know, like
I hope you're worrying about that before also.
I don't think people do, to be honest. Before
I mean,
that,
typically, an average Indian
Yeah.
getting married doesn't think about what is consent.
Yeah.
शादी तो
Yeah.
कर ही रहे हैं ना इसी के लिए. Consent
अगर
ही तो-
दादाजी मर रहे होंगे तब प्रॉपर्टी राइट्स के बारे में सोचेंगे, राइट? आई मीन लाइक तब
And
याद
that's a
आएगा.
very human attitude in general.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, so it's mind blowing. It's all there.
It's all there.
It's all there. Just that there is nothing for you to. There is no push for a 8th grader to question this, to
Right.
think about this, to
Right.
process this,
Right.
to tell them that this is how it is going to be applicable in your life
Yeah.
later.
Like, for instance, you spoke about coalitions, right? Like, coalitions, I personally think it's a good idea, right? For instance, like, if they initiated a discussion, like if we initiated a discussion in the class, right? You are saying coalition is a bad thing. Why?
I think I genuinely thought coalition is a bad thing, to be honest, before this government came
Yeah.
in. Because I thought ki the reason why they're so corrupt, the reason why there is no, the reason why this Manmohan Singh scapegoat is not because this person is bad, it's because he's managing so much together,
Right.
so many different pieces together, and there's so much compromise that has to take place from a policy point of view.
Yeah.
And what would this man do? The problem is that they don't have proper majority to whip people and to get them online and to execute what they want to do.
Right.
But then this government came. and then initially I was like, you know what? Principally a number of problems, but maybe, just maybe, we'll see will executed in the right direction. But
Of course, like, unfettered power comes with its own flaws.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's my thing, right? So coalitions is there, but you know about whipping also.
Yeah.
Do you know about anti-defection law? No, you don't. No, it's fine. A lot of people don't. But okay, I'm about to blow your mind.
Okay.
Do you know about anti-defection law?
From you only.
Oh, okay, yeah, I've spoken about it. The thing is that when you said whipping people into action, what that really means is that when a party leader tells his block of MPs to vote in a certain way, they have to vote in that way. If they don't, they get kicked out of parliament, and that's a law. Right?
and that implies on your party people.
Yeah, basically they vote as a block for a law, right?
Understood.
And that is messed up if you think about it, because talking about the flaws that need to be mentioned in this Civics book, it practically reduces our democracy to nothing.
Now I'm thinking about this. I'm like, okay, democracy means सबका आवाज पार्लियामेंट में जाए. तो सबका आवाज अगर तुम पार्लियामेंट में वो डाइवर्सिटी को खत्म करके you make it one single agenda.
Yeah.
You're just beating the purpose,
Right.
right?
So, for instance, if you look at this chart, right, like in the page where they have given like how the Lok Sabha is structured, right? Look at this. 282 is Bharatiya Janata Party, but they're down to 275 now because a lot of MPs died, resigned, etc. Whatever. But they're still in majority.
Yeah.
Guys. Okay. 272 se zyada hai majority. Then there are other parties. There's Indian National Congress, which is up to I think 52 now. I think somewhere around 49, right? And then there are other parties, right? Like for instance, there's a 37 seats AIADMK, TMC which is 34 seats, BJD which is 20, right? If you look at it, if you take the top 8 parties, right? they are the ones who run the country right now,
Correct.
right? Because they form 83% of all our MPs, which means essentially their party leaders, 8 people, are deciding what laws get passed. And since it's 83%, they can change the constitution also by vaping people, right? And that's the messed up thing about this, right?
And so nobody knows about it.
Exactly. Anti-defection is such a bizarre, weird law, which thank you Rajiv Gandhi who put it in from Amethi. उसको तो काफी फायदा हो गया, but हमारा क्या?
उसकी मम्मी ने बोला होगा कि मेरे को इमरजेंसी लगानी पड़ी, तुम जरा ये लॉ से ही सॉर्ट कर दो.
Like think about this poor guy who is from say Indian Union Muslim League, IUML, 2 people, right? उनकी मांगे कौन सुनेगा? 2 लोग हैं, right? They get also the people who talk in parliament, they get talking points according to the proportion of the seats.
Wow.
So BJP gets like 45 minutes to talk, so one MP can talk for 45 minutes, and these one person people get 1.5 minutes. And that is also so messed up.
That's really messed up.
And so I used to work with an MP from Sikkim who was one person, and his party was one person. Dude, the amount of it's a long and then later I worked with a MP who was from BJD, like 20 people. The difference there was that my BJD MP could give sort of winding speeches, right? Like कि 7 मिनट है 8 मिनट है वो थोड़ा एक्सटेंड करके मैडम बोलने दीजिए करके 12 मिनट हो जाएगा, तो फिर वो स्पीच अच्छा बनता था. With that guy, oh my god, SMS भेजना पड़ता था. Like literally 3 points, उतना ही बोल सकता है मैं. Like, and he would be like, point number 1, point number 2, point number 3. And तब तक speaker was also like, हाँ हो गया, बैठ जाइए, because he was also like one of the last speakers to speak.
It's just so sad. Like now I'm thinking, in retrospect, all the time I've seen nonsense happening in Lok Sabha, right? It was without this knowledge. It was like, oh, they are wasting time.
Right.
They are blah blah blah. Discussion होने नहीं दे रहे हैं. Now I know कि एक तो डिस्कशन ऑलरेडी इतना कंस्ट्रेंट है, उसके ऊपर से एक पूरी पार्टी एक ही पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू को लेके आई है. देयर इज नॉट इवन अ डिबेट हैपनिंग अमंग्स people
have come there with an agenda pre-decided.
Yeah, this is just, I mean, this doesn't make sense.
So this chapter, therefore, when I read it, having worked there, I was like, this is messed up. I mean, like, this is not what happens, guys. I mean, and that's the thing, like, when you have kids who are growing up with this idea, like, for instance, before you came for this podcast and you read this, you had a very different idea of the parliament, right? Till that point, you would actually believe this. They are supposed to be your representatives to some extent.
Like, my point of view always has been, you know what, like, whoever has put it in paper, put it with the right intentions, probably did a lot of research. You know, we probably don't know the nuances. If you tell me about vaping also in isolation, I would probably be like, kuch to reason raha hoga. Like, there must be some science behind putting it like this. But I mean, you know, when you look at the mess that this execution of this is, and then you put in that context, uske upar se again, you know, systematically you don't listen to people who are represented in smaller quantities, or you have just one agenda for one party and you just are killing all the diversity that you have in the party. It just sounds so ridiculous.
Because that's the easy way out, right? Whatever the ruling powers, the people in power are doing, if you just justify it somehow to yourself, you're like, okay, I can live with this.
Yeah, exactly. And until you know these little nuances of how parliament functions, it doesn't make any sense anymore, right? Again, for that you need to have a closer look at how things work. Because as you said, right, you know, when you look at the TV, I doubt if you look at Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha TV, right? You look at news channels, right? And news channels दिखाते क्या है, 10 सेकंड का outrage हो गया, उसको loop करते हैं दिन भर, parliament disrupted. That is wrong, because if outrage happens in the first half an hour, after that you can see the parliament functioning throughout the day. In Lok Sabha, if you just switch channels to Lok Sabha or Raj, they do work, man. But the news channels are like, oh, parliament disrupted, so people think कि अरे ये तो काम ही नहीं कर रहे. But in reality, I'm sitting there, I'm watching on news channel, parliament disrupted. I'm saying, but मैं तो काम कर रहा है, वो देख वो चल रहा है. So it's really bizarre how these things work, right? But yeah, I mean, I guess they should add that in the
I don't know how they will tell this to kids, but I think the only thing I understood was, and I have to say that this book is definitely more evolved than how things used to be when we were reading it. There was no discuss, okay, okay, there was no thing, there was no discuss, there was just paragraphs and then questions to be answered. You had to put it in a copy, but definitely more evolved. But I just feel that probably now is the time that we should start putting in things where this is where we go wrong in execution. These are the loopholes probably that still need to be plugged in. What is so wrong in telling people that this is probably कि this was thought with this agenda, कि parliament का पूरा process, democratic process जब बनाया गया था तो ये सोच के बनाया गया था आज की डेट में ये challenges हैं.
Absolutely.
And very factual. It's not even judgmental.
Yeah. I mean, this is like how it is. I mean, just deal with it, kind of a thing. Like, and that's essentially that's actually a very interesting point she brings up, because if you tell kids this, like I've been wondering about this, right? So if you tell kids about how the parliament functions and immediately you tell them actually 8 people rule you. थोड़ा KLPD हो जाएगा, I think, like I think so. But what do you do, man? Like
I'm not realizing. See, the way why do sometimes we get interested? When I was reading physics, right? Physics used to be so interesting because they used to tell us things and then used to say these are things still being explored. These are things. ये experiment हुआ, experiment का result ये आया. लेकिन quantum mechanics में ये सवाल अभी भी है. Right? और या फिर when you talk about the universe, right? There's so much that is still and science is very honest about these things, right? कि these are things जिसके बारे में answer है हमारे पास. These are things जिसके बारे में answer नहीं है. Right? Which is also true for social sciences,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
कि इसके बाद answer नहीं है हमारे पास. You as citizens will have to find answers for it.
Absolutely. And I really like that I really like we reached this point in this episode because it's a question that I keep asking myself about, say, why do we end up getting disappointed with our democracy time and again, right? For instance, she spoke about Amethi. It's your representative. People have hopes. People can see that Prime Minister आ गया तो फायदा होता है. So for them, their answer is कि हम Prime Minister बनाएगा, ये Prime Minister बन जाए, मेरे सब problem solve हो जाएंगे. That is how they fix democracy, right? But for instance, for someone who is not from a very popular constituency, say somewhere like Sikkim, one state, 6 lakh people, 1 MP, क्या करेंगे वो लोग, right? They trust their chief minister more, right? वहाँ पे they will vote for their chief minister more enthusiastically because he's more likely to get things done than an MP. And these are the nuances that people also do not understand. Right? And these are nuances which are so decentralized and localized, as you put it, where national media is talking about left liberal ये हो रहा है, योगी जी ये कर रहे हैं, but nobody is talking about nuances which are decentralized, right? Like for instance, so since I worked in Sikkim, there is a giant river वहाँ पे काफी बड़ा garbage problem हो गया है. Like plastics, because people dump plastics and then it goes downflow and there's this giant wall of plastic that forms sometimes, right? Now that's a real problem for them. So they banned plastic, right? But then people don't understand that the same problem might be happening somewhere in Haridwar but might have a different solution. So the decentralized problems are different, but everybody wants Ganga ko clean karo, sab rivers ko clean karo, plastic ban kar do. It's not that simple. Yeah, and that is essentially the lesson of this lesson, I guess. Oh, thank you so much for getting me off here. But I think we are also running out of time. But I think that was a great conversation.
Yes, I had
and you had a lot of fun. And I think one thing that I will end with is, who are the people in parliament? And we were discussing this earlier and we wanted to ask you a question. Shreyas, do you want to ask about the women's reservation?
I actually really like where our conversation is right now. I don't even know if we should go into that.
No, but I want to ask you about this. So there is this proposal to have a 33% women representation in parliament. Right now it's at 12%, right? Do you think having more women in parliament is a good idea? Reserving seats?
As I said earlier, right? I don't see a problem with it on paper. Like, again, diversity, the concept of diversity in parliament is a fundamentally good concept.
Yeah.
But when we discuss that in light of how this is executed.
Implemented.
Right.
How is it already implemented? We know that already there are token women candidates.
Yeah.
In in state assemblies and in Lok
Panchayat
Sabha,
elections,
right?
yeah.
There are these constituencies reserved for Dalit female candidates,
Right.
and the people who are actually running the game are not them. It's their husband or their families or some other political power.
Yeah.
Just using them as puppets.
Yeah.
Right. So it's already we're messing up with the execution of what is already on paper. Okay, and just making it 33% will not solve it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am principally the funda of democracy is getting diverse voices in
Yeah,
the system.
absolutely.
Okay, and if the way to push if diversity is through a reservation. I'm principally good with that on paper, but the bigger problem is that they're going to mess it up even more.
Right.
There'll be 33% token candidates now instead of 12%.
Right.
So till the time my opinion would be till the time we find a way to fix how we are dealing with the reservations right now. We fix that problem first and then extend it to whatever number you want to extend it to principally.
Yeah, I feel that's a problem that comes in areas where you want to increase diversity, where it becomes like a battle between actually increasing diversity and just tokenization, where you get the satisfaction, you get diversity on paper, but there's no actual diversity.
Like for instance, manners. Right, you have so many men, and then someone is like, "अरे इतने आदमी क्यों है?" So they're like, "हाँ, एक token woman लेके ही आ जाओ, बिठा दो वहाँ पे, तो criticism नहीं मिलेगा," type of a thing, and that is tragic. And I think that is a great way to put it. What she said, that implementation is always going to be a
in
problem.
our country, the bigger I'm saying, over years, I don't understand how implementation is still so screwed up.
Yeah.
We can't tell ourselves we're a very young democracy.
Right.
We are young, but we're not 10-year-old,
Right,
dude.
right,
It's
right.
been like so many years.
Yes.
These fundamental problems, we need to figure out a way to fix implementation. And I genuinely feel a lot of which things which are on the civics textbook, which are in constitution, are not bad.
Yeah.
Are principally coming from a very well researched place.
Right.
But we've screwed up so much in
Implementation.
implementing it.
I can talk about implementation for hours, but we don't have time. So we will end it here.
Yes.
And thank you, Prashasthi, so much
Thank you,
for
Meghnad. Thank you, Shreyas.
being a part of this.
I feel I've learned so much from this
I'm
conversation.
feeling cathartic.
Yes, this was a great cathartic
Because
experience.
that's what we say. Our goal at this podcast is cathartic experience.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now we are going to score her.
Oh,
What?
score her.
What is this?
All this while,
Okay.
we were actually secretly teachers who were judging you.
Sitting on that stage of mine.
Yeah.
What
We
loser
were
teacher.
wearing school clothes and judging you.
What I have on my mark sheet is, wait a second, I have to make some calculations. Add that. What's your date of birth?
Shut up, I don't tell you that, of course. On audio.
What you have scored is you are actually the teacher in the school now. You started out as a student.
So impressed.
My score for you is Thanda Thanda Cool Cool.
What? Yeah, like cool, the positive cool, not like
Thanda
thanda.
Cool Cool.
Very good,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
profound.
Are you happy with your scores?
Yes, I'm very happy.
So
to
now she's
be
teacher.
here.
So Prashasthi, where should people follow you or reach you if they want to talk more about Parliament and
It's, at Prashasthi Singh everywhere. Like Prashasthingh.
at Prashasthi Singh everywhere?
Yeah.
So Instagram, Twitter.
Instagram and Twitter is Prashasthi Singh, and I think Facebook is Prashasthi S.
And LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is Prashasthi Singh. There are very few Prashasthis in the system in general, guys. Just search.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Meghnad, Meghnad. And you can follow me on Instagram at Meghnad S, Meghnad.
You can follow me on Twitter at @very Shreyas, and you can follow me on Instagram at Shreyas_Manohar.
Yes. So please follow us. Please make us famous as Prashasthi. Okay. Rubbed off. Okay. Thank you so much for listening.
you.
Bye.
So that was our episode this week. Next week, join Meghnad and me as we talk to stand-up comedian Abbas Momin about understanding our laws and their limitations.